Well, Sakina, protesters are arriving and trickling in here at the Mary Fitzgerald Square. We've also seen those whom are members of the ANC Youth League whom have already gone up to Luthuli House, in which they are saying they are there to defend their home, which is the ANC headquarters, Luthuli House. But in classic Democratic Alliance fashion, you've also got something to nibble on there on my left-hand side, which my colleague Herbert Mamela is going to show you, which shows the preparations of the Democratic Alliance for this march that they have to Luthuli House, that you cannot march on an empty stomach and you have to have breakfast. Hence, you see some fruits, some muffins for those members and supporters of the DA to nibble on as well. And you can see some water for them to stay hydrated so that they do not dehydrate as they march to the headquarters of Luthuli House. But I'm going to bring in Mr. Newton here. Mr. Newton, just the essence of your march to Luthuli House today, what does it signify, particularly knowing that Eskom says they're going to be rolling out load shedding for the next 2 years?
Yes, thank you very much. We've heard so many things about plans, so just don't get run over by the water truck. We've heard so much about plans and load shedding over the next 2 years. South Africans can't just accept the fact that it's going to be for the next 2 years at level 2, because we know that given collapses of units, it could go to level 4, level 6 at any time. So you can't tell people for the next 2 years it'll be level 2, because there's no guarantee of that. So what we want is we want the government to come up with a plan. All right, they don't have one. We have ideas and solutions which we are implementing, and we want the government to take this seriously. They say to the people, we have a plan, but we don't know what that plan is. We hear that it's being addressed and it's priority. It's been with us since 2007. How much of a priority has it been?
When you look at the Eskom executives, particularly when they went to Luthuli House, when they went to Parliament, rather, to the Portfolio Committee, Scopa, yesterday for the past 2 days, you also look at how you've got your own case against the ANC when it comes to cadre deployment, which you say cadre deployment is one of the many reasons why Eskom has crumbled today. What is the plan, in essence, of the Democratic Alliance to fix the country's load shedding, particularly knowing that you are saying that Gweda Mantashe, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources, is the one who is hindering independent power producers from coming on stream?
Well, that's very important. And I mean, the point you make is Gweda Mantashe says one thing, Eskom says another thing, NERSA says another thing, the President says another thing. How do we believe any of these plans are even workable? And we believe that you need to open it up for IPPs. I'm sure you saw yesterday Jordan Hill Lewis in the city of Cape Town, the mayor there, is talking about paying people for selling electricity back to the municipality to be able to spread it around. We have ideas, we have solutions, and we're going to Luthuli House because we believe that cadre deployment is one of those real causes of where we are today. And you can't say, oh, blame it all on Eskom. We've seen what cadre deployment has done to SAA, Denel, so many other places, and the Eskom situation. I mean, we all know that there's been how many chairmans and boards. It's not coming right, and it's been with us for more than 10, 12, 15 years.
When you look at the issue of municipalities, which is a proposal by the mayor of the city of Cape Town, Jordan Hill Lewis, that you pay people for selling electricity into the city. I know with the new solar energies people are putting into their homes, they can also send back electricity into the grid. But how do you ensure that you implement that when municipalities are failing when it comes to revenue generation? Just your municipalities here in Gauteng, Tshwane is in a dire financial situation, cannot pay creditors on time. You go to Ekurhuleni, dire situation. In a few months from now, that municipality may not even be able to pay salaries of its staff. They can't pay contractors at this point in time whom are employed by the city of Johannesburg as well. The finances are in a dire situation. They are looking at getting external loans and are looking at adjusting their budgets in the council meeting sitting on Thursday. So how will this proposal work in DA-run coalition municipalities where the financial situation is also pretty dire?
Well, it's about revenue generation. It's about collection. That's a very valid point that you make. And there is a culture of non-payment in South Africa for services. And we have a backlog in so many municipalities. But if you have a look around DA-led municipalities, I think 90%, if not more, are current with all their water accounts and all their electricity accounts. In places like Johannesburg, the metros, it's a lot more difficult. We're inheriting quite a system that takes a while to get over. But we need to get people, including big businesses, including government departments, to pay their bills. And the moment we get that culture of payment back in, it'll assist. Because as you say, metros and municipalities can't function if they don't have income. So if you have clear, transparent systems, you get that generation, revenue generation up to where it should be around 94%, then you can start implementing the solutions that you need. But if you're working from a negative debt all the time, it's going to be an uphill battle. And we need people to work together, not to fight each other on this. Everyone agrees we're in crisis. The country is in crisis with our energy and our load shedding, and we need to work together. And the DA has plans, the DA has ideas, and we are prepared to go out there and try these things. I mean, we've been calling for IPPs to be much more readily available. We've done it in Cape Town. We have to give these people, I mean, there are over 400, if I'm not mistaken, IPP providers around the country. Make it easier for them to get onto the grid.
Have you looked at government's proposals, particularly with their relationship with the Saudi Arabian government over the hydrogen electricity that is being explored within the Northern Cape? You also look at the various projects with the Saudi Arabian government investing over $15 billion into the South African economy when it comes to the issue of renewable energy.
Well, wouldn't it be great if the President did come out and tell South Africans about this sort of thing? Because a lot of South Africans don't know what is being done, what is being said. And we say, you know, if you're looking at the power ships and you're looking at other plans, yes, are they viable in the short term? What can we do in the short term? We have to have a long-term plan, and we have to look at renewables, but there has to be a mix. We're saying there has to be a mix. You can't say we're going 100% renewables or we're staying with fossil fuels. We have to find that mix, and we have to make it work for South Africa. So we need to explore all our options, I agree 100%, but they can't be pie in the sky, and they can't cost us billions and billions when we've already spent that on power stations that are not functioning.
When you look at the proposals of coal power ships is something that the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Gwede Mantashe, has been accused of batting for, which is pretty much being stalled at this point in time through litigation in courts, which could be one of the various avenues that is there to ensure energy security within the country. Are you, as the DA, supporting that proposal, or are you supporting those who've taken power ships deal into court for litigation for it to be stopped, saying that it will destroy South Africa's coastline?
Well, we have to look at more than just the coastline. We have to look at that, obviously, but you also have to look, you're then buying into a 20-year deal. You're going to be spending over 200 billion and that money can be better spent at home, setting up our own power generator stations and fixing the mess that is our two flagship power stations. We need to spend the money on that, so it belongs to us. The power ships, maybe in the short term, but it isn't short term because it's 20 years. You booked in for 20 years, you're spending 200 billion. Rather spend that on what we have here at home and that can help our people going forward, not sail away after 20 years.
There was a proposal at some stage to build a nuclear power plant within the Gqeberha coastal line. As the Democratic Alliance, are you in favor of the building of that new nuclear power plant? It was a proposal during the era of former President Jacob Zuma with the Russians. It was taken to court. Ultimately, it was thrown out. There was a debate about a year ago resurfacing that particular deal. As the Democratic Alliance, are you in favor of nuclear, particularly knowing that you've got the Koeberg nuclear power plant out in the Western Cape?
Yes, what you have to understand is the DA is very committed to a mix. So we have to look at all options. I mean, we are in a crisis. Our unemployment is sky high. A lot of it is because of things like load shedding, that businesses collapse on a daily basis because they can't go on. So we have to look at a mix, okay? So we can't just choose one, pick one and say we support this and not another. So we have to look, and our experts will look at the possibility of all so that we have a proper mix to be able to take our country forward, Samkele.
A few years ago, when you marched to Luthuli House, it was a bloodshed. There was cop and donor. Some ANC members ended up having to serve some time in orange overalls. One in particular is now the treasurer of the ANC in the Ekurhuleni region, Cilliers Brink. This time around, are you anticipating any violence that may break out? And is it responsible of you to be marching to the headquarters of another party, knowing the historical context of the bloodshed that was there when the IFP marched to Shell House in the era of the transition into democracy? You marched into Luthuli House about a few years ago. There was cop and donor. Some ANC members and Youth League members ended up having to wear orange overalls.
But it's interesting you say, is it responsible of us to march? We're a peaceful marcher. We're peaceful. You should say, is it responsible of those who say, we will defend Luthuli House, or we will defend whatever? Defend against what? Defend against the truth? We're not coming there to break anything. We're not coming to hand over a memorandum. We're not coming to say, you must do this, you must do that. The people have already said that. We want to march to say enough is enough. So the responsibility for being mature and not going to violence is not on us. We're a peaceful march. People who go there and say we're going to defend, for what? What are you defending? We're not coming to attack. So the responsibility should be on those who have said we will defend. We are a peaceful march, we will be a peaceful march, and we don't want violence. The last thing we want is violence. So it's down to everyone to be calm and not to come up with this nonsense of we're going to defend. We're not coming to do anything to Luthuli House. We're going to march past there. I mean, people must be responsible.
So you're not going to be handing over a memorandum?
No, we're not going to be handing over a memorandum. What we've had countless statements, we've had countless papers we've given out. We've offered the government solutions that we think work and that have proven to be working in the Western Cape. We've said this is what you need. This is a march to say enough is enough. No more platitudes, no more empty promises, no more, okay, we'll take it down to stage 2 just for now, but then next week it's up to stage 6 again. We don't want that. We want South Africa to work. And for South Africa to work, this government needs to either step aside and let someone else do it or try and at least get it right.
Mr. Newton, Fikile Mbalula, the Secretary General of the ANC, is having an electricity symposium at the University of Johannesburg. You're out in the streets marching. You can get very little from the streets. There are no ideas coming from the streets. It's just marches, slogans. But on the other hand, you've got professionals, you've got those whom work in the electricity space engaging with someone who's effectively on his way out of government, the Secretary General of the ANC. Should you not be around the table discussing these ideas that you have as the Democratic Alliance, instead of proving and showing the high unemployment stats in South Africa of how easy it's to mobilize and to get the unemployed out to go out and march, rather than giving professional and clear concrete ideas going into the future, which is something the ANC is also guilty of going to the streets and showing how easy it is just to mobilize the unemployed.
It's interesting, the symposium is now here on the day that we march, and we're hearing now they're coming up with all these great ideas. Where were they for the last year? Where the last 2 years, the last 10 years? Now all of a sudden, we've got this, we're going to sort out, we're going to speak to the experts. We've been saying for years, speak to the experts, let them come in, let people from the outside come in, bring experts into the many committees that the president appoints. Bring outside experts into that. Now today we're marching and Fikile says let's have a symposium. Now we don't buy it.
Mr. Newton, on a separate issue, municipalities are sitting on Thursday for their council meetings. The leader, the federal chairperson of the DA, Helen Zille, has called for an urgent meeting with all speakers, chief whips, later on this evening. What are some of the deliberations in that private meeting that she will be having with your deployees in the various councils this evening?
Well, exactly that, a private meeting. I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not in a position to say what will be spoken about in a private meeting. And today the focus is really on this march and on talking about load shedding. Tomorrow we can chat about private meetings.
No. You're not going to dictate our agenda, as the news will ask you, as it is and when it happens. You were meant to sign with the Patriotic Alliance last week Friday, a new coalition compact. Why didn't that signing take place with the PA?
It's still going on. Negotiations are still going on. We understand that the PA are saying a lot of things in the media about the DA being spoilers, etc., but negotiations are still going on. So it's not the time now to say this is the position and that's the end of it. There are positions, there are offers, there are counter offers. There are negotiations still going on. So we're not going to preempt those negotiations and say the DA will not do this, the DA will do that. Those negotiations are ongoing.
Are you confident that you'll be keeping these municipalities come Thursday and your speakers and your chief whips in Ekurhuleni will not be removed?
We're confident.
Thank you very much, Mr. Newton. They will be marching to Luthuli House. They are marching past Luthuli House, and they are not going to be handing over a memorandum to the headquarters of the governing party, in the words of a DA spokesperson, Mr. Newton.